Welcome everyone. Today we'll have an endgame update for the latest sniper build for the summoners. So let's have a look at the boss fight and let's have a look what happened to the boss. So this is the tier 15 boss and two-shot it with the snipers. Yes, we're trying to do a lot of different setup variations and also adjustment, and we have been testing both of the flame snipers and also the physical snipers. After lots of testing, we actually realized we deal more damage with a physical sniper through armor breaking, and you can see that was a tier 15 boss in less than 1 second. So now coming over to the build with variety of maps for tier 15 and also double corrupted maps. And here is a great demonstration of how powerful this particular sniper build can be in clearing out different maps. And yes, in case you guys are wondering, we're testing in both open clear maps and also enclosed narrow corridors with adjustment. And you can see it is incredibly powerful, this particular sniper build, because you're pretty much mowing down the map within seconds. And you can see there's a pretty much map-wide radius of attack, and the attacks are happening instantly. The snipers themselves deals a lot of physical damage together with the ability to deal even armor breaking damage through the vulnerability curse, and also your hound can now break enemies very effectively through the number of usage of your skill links. And yes guys, we did test a number of modifiers with different corrupted maps, and which are all tier 15 and with a number of different setups, and we have concluded that using the physical snipers seems to be very powerful. It is similar with the fire snipers, but this is a good alternative which allows us to apply a lot of armor breaking, which normally wouldn't be coming from the fire elemental damage with the skeleton arsonists or the fire snipers. Now, if you have been following me on my previous build with the fire snipers, it still works and I am still using that setup. So it is nothing wrong with it and it still works, and this setup is not bad. So for those of you that is similar to my level, or if you're still following the fire snipers, there is nothing wrong with it. And I'll continuously to update the fire snipers that deals fire damage and also lowers enemies' fire resistance. But it just happens that we wanted to test a different form of damage, and seems like the physical damage together with armor breaking and also the ability to just one-shot enemies with this particular new setup seems to be working and so performing a little bit better. Or maybe just because of the armor breaking just seems to be wonderful using the minions. Now briefly summarize what is happening with the build. Yes, my friend is using the weapon swap, and on the second part of the video, I'll explain additional tips and also discoveries with weapon swap and what you should be noticing. So first of all, you're using scatter together with fog and also potentially other supporting gems depending on the map and also depending on the zone. Your snipers has tons of reach and also range, and because you can constantly blink around by swapping weapons, you're not really reserving for the 60 reservation of the spirit, which is a really big plus if you haven't seen our latest 24 weapon setup, which allows my friend to do this. On top of that, you can cast a massive curse like this on the ground, and when the enemy spawns, pretty much one-shotted. Look at that. So you can clear any content and pretty much one-shot almost anything with the right setup. The combination is quite straightforward. You can see that we're casting curses only when we needed it, and majority of the time you don't even need to cast a curse. You don't even need to cast your rituals. Your snipers have a global radius that pretty much one-shot everything or two-shots them as they fog the arrows. And yes, what I want to show you guys is not only do we test the fog damage, we also tested enclosed corridors with the adjustment. So when those closed corridors, it is really annoying for the summoners, but here we have adjusted. I'll teach you guys on the second part how to make a quick adjustment when the monsters are in close contact with you. And then you can adjust to an open map or a smaller map, and also adjust according to the boss, which allows you to one-shot pretty much everything on the map. Now finally, the boss damage setup can also allow you to socket different gems before you start the boss, and this will greatly enhance your ability to take down any pinnacle boss and any tier 15 boss. For tier 15 boss, you don't even have to worry. One curse or before the curse is applied, the tier 15 boss is gone. We're working towards the next pinnacle boss with my friend. And once that is recorded and also tested, we'll show you guys the pinnacle boss footage. By the moment, he didn't have the money to buy, and there's a pinnacle boss entry. So the demonstration for tier 15 boss is pretty easy, and you can see the build will be very well run in any content. The build still uses the mana of mind over matter, so that means when enemy gets killed, you'll restore over 300 to 400 mana per kill, which makes you invulnerable in any modifiers in tier 15. So Now that we have talked about the build briefly, and you pretty much had the highlight of the build, you can come over to my builder's guide. Now I have to try to collect everything onto this one builder's guide, which can get a little overwhelming. I have to try to change the variants. So if you're following the fire bomb variant, this is a binding build, which I made which I made a few hours ago when the patch was released. And I tested myself, it works perfectly still. I am still using that build. This second build is my friend Dramkast's variation, where he used more physical damage, and we're learning on this particular setup. You can see there's also a variety of arsonist setup, which we previously made the videos on, and if you want to follow the arsonist build, those can still work. It's just that you're summoning less arsonist. So depending on the build you guys are following, you can go through different variants. I'll have the tags available for you guys. So this particular setup is going to be a full physical setup. At the second part of the video, we'll go through the latest update of the gears as well that my friend is currently using. So coming over to the skill links, which are the most important part. We are using skeleton snipers. Skeleton snipers with higher quality would lower the reservation of skeleton snipers, which means you can summon more of them. Together with a combination of feeding frenzy, brutality, which is a massive increase of more physical damage, very powerful by the testing of it. Everything that says more damage is a multiplier, and 35% multiplier together with heft is no joke. So those two already makes the physical sniper very powerful. Together with martial tempo for much needed increased attack speed, because the projectile speed is fast, attack speed bonus is also amazing on the snipers. We also have scatter shot. This is kind of the default setup. If you want to run any 6 link on the snipers, this doesn't go wrong. But if you look at the skeleton arsonist, this is just a placeholder. So here we have a variety of skills that can be adjusted depending on the map and also depending on what you're fighting. Firstly, you can take away martial tempo and replace this one with ricochet. So when would you want to have ricochet is that this allows you to chain additional times in different terrains. It is possible to use this one in any of the terrains, but after trying this one, we're thinking, it is okay, but it is not as good as fog. So fog is going to be the second choice. And just to show you guys the ability of fog will allow you to split additional projectiles as they shoot through. And this is perfect for wiping down entire massive maps. And as you can see in the demonstration over here, as the skeletons are summoned, they shoot once, they covers the entire map, everything dies in one shot. Next up, we have the alternative to use Purse. So what you're doing is you're stripping out martial tempo for any of those gems depending on your liking. So martial tempo is a flexible one. Having attack speed is not bad, but you can bounce around. You can have fog, which clears a wide area, as I showed you guys over here. You can have Purse, which will clear a narrow corridor. So on this demonstration, on the second part, we were doing live testing, and here you can see in a narrow corridor, monsters are stacked up. Having Purse means that you can shoot through the monsters in the front and hit the monsters in the back. So when the map is really terrible for a small tight area, you can replace martial tempo with Purse, and this will quickly mow them down quickly within the corridors. And you can see the demonstration over here, you will shoot right through them and kill them in one shot through the monsters behind them as well, which is really good. Now finally, against the boss, it is option to use martial tempo, or if you guys want a little more survivability and higher damage, you can use physical mastery, which will increase your sniper's level by level 1. This is also optional, and you can consider taking away scatter shot. So what you can do is, for boss fighting, you can go feeding frenzy, brutality, martial tempo, heft, and also physical mastery. So there's 3-4 variations of the skeleton snipers should you want to pick the boss fight for pinnacle bosses in close corridors or in AoE radius massive maps. You can even try to play around with ricochet. Usually we keep scattershot because this is great for any mapping, but against the boss it might be better to have physical mastery for even higher damage. The snipers themselves are both physical, minion, and also fire monsters, and this allows them to enjoy multiple ways of +1 mastery with fire mastery, minion mastery, and also physical mastery, which is a wonderful discovery. So all the gems that is on the skeleton arsonist can be replaced into the skeleton snipers now that you know the rotation. For the rest of the skills, there isn't that much change. For firewalls, we're going with mobility, fortress, arcane tempo, and also arcane surge. Now we did change up the Raging Spirit a little bit. It is fully utility with Calling Strike, main, blind and also disbobulate. This means there will be a lot of debuffs, lots of slows, lots of blind, and also reduce enemies' evasion, and also ways to daze enemies. Now over here, one of the biggest change with the build is having the Infernal Health as an armor breaker. So here we have a number of ways to increase Infernal's health damage, which are physical damage, and then in return breaking the enemy's armor. We have Splinter, which allows us to break armor through the physical damage deals. We have Heavy Swing, which allows us to deal more physical damage, in return breaking more armor. And here we have Demolisher, which allows us to break even more armor. In order to make sure the Hound is breaking a lot of armor, we're increasing its survivability and also physical damage through Fire Mastery and also Minion Mastery, so the Hound has tons of health and also breaks a lot of armor. You might be wondering how well the armor breaking is with the Hound, so let's have a look over here. This is a great demonstration. So here is a tier 15 boss. And yes, we're set up, we have the curses ready, and notice one attack from the Hound is 4,000 armor. The second attack of the Hound broke the armor of the boss, and now it is in the broke zone. So within 2 attack of the Hound, the boss is already broken for a tier 15 boss, and then it's gone. So before we even get to maximize the damage, the boss is to be armor broken very quickly and then melted in seconds. So now that you know we're physical damage, we are switching flammability with vulnerability. In terms of vulnerability, this will increase your armor break and also additional physical damage, which is very good. So here we have Heightened Curse, Curse Ground, which the curse will now stay, together with Inspiration and also Hex Boom to spread the curses. Now in terms of the vulnerability, especially if you come over to the skill trees with the new weapon swap setup, I'll have some additional advices of when to use the curse and how to best use of the curse with the new weapon tree setup. In terms of metas, you can run without errors, but if you have 10 spare reservation of spirit, you can have clarity. As for Blink, it is optional to go with Injurity, which is always good for lower cooldowns, together with this particular shield, which I taught you guys on the last video. Yes, you want this shield because this will lower your cooldown recovery. You can get a 50% roll on this shield, which is amazingly good if you get in the blinks. So at parts of the video, you can see that my friend is actually blinking around, and he is actually traveling quite fast. Notice over here, his blink is off cooldown very fast, and this allows him to actually travel across the map quite quickly. Now it is optional guys, you can go with double blink with Psychic Wind, but this will lower your cooldown recovery. But my friend Dramkast has decided to not use Second Wind, so he's only using Injurity for the lowest cooldown recovery so that he can blink around much quicker. You can go with double blink, I'll take this away for much lower blink cooldown. Finally, the power boost of the build is coming from the Pain offering. So Persistence, Obligation, Dance Macabre, and also Front of Rage will allow you to do the highest damage when you have the offerings ready. Now coming over to the skill tree of the build, you can see there are blue lines or green lines or red lines and also gold lines. This may be a little overwhelming, and yes, for the majority of the future videos, I always refer back to watch this video which explained how to use the second weapon set, how to get more points by doing this, and how to benefit from tons of additional range of cast and also additional minion damage because of this. So if you're following this tree, make sure you watch the previous video which everything explained and you can use the timestamp. Now some of our viewers has raised some questions. One of the first questions about the tree is that do you want to get minion with additional minion bonus damage when you summon using the second skill tree or the second weapon set, using the second weapon set tree to summon for the totems or to summon for the offerings. I'm mumbling my words, my bad for that. So yes, what if you use the second weapon set to summon for the totems and also get the higher duration? We tried that, it does not work. During the testings, once you summon the totems, once you swap the weapons, the totems will disappear. I'll keep calling them totems. The offerings will disappear. So yes, you cannot abuse or use the benefit of second weapon set to summon the totems with great damage and also great duration and then swap the weapons back. Because when you swap your weapons, those will disappear. So this is why we went for more curses over here, for more effect and also faster activation. Now briefly going through the gears my friend Dramkast had for during the recording of this particular test build. And do keep in mind, guys, his gears might seem very powerful because he has been playing and also farming the endgame for a while. And he did buy those gears before the massive divine and also exalted inflation. So most of the gears he bought for around 100 or 150 exalted orbs, and now it's like selling for a little higher, of course. So keep that in mind. Now, one of the best in slot chest piece is going to be this chest piece with a top implicit plus spirit and also with a bottom plus spirit with a massive increase of life and also together with resistance. So if you can get something similar, that is really good. Keep in mind, this did cost him over 150 exalt and that was bought a few days ago. In terms of the other pieces, let's briefly go through them, and I'll have this link with you guys at the end of the video should you want to have a look. So yes, he was stressing out to me. He's like, look at this spirit. It's plus 30 spirit on top. You need to get this base of a chest piece because this is the best base for the summoners. So yes, very good. And over here you can see for the helmet, the maximum minion summon rank you can roll is 2 skill ranks. You want maximum life, maximum mana, any stats you're missing is going to be really good. At the same time, you can notice that all of his resistance are capped. I'll be making a video to teach you about that and also how this can greatly benefit your build in the late game. So in terms of the sockets, you can see he's going with chaos resistance. He can go a bit of maximal life for more spirits. And as we keep going, let's have a look. We're going to come over to the weapon. His weapon is only plus 4 minion skill rank, but he has some really good stats like increasing spirit, allies in the presence deals additional damage and also additional critical damage. So this is a pretty nice weapon, and definitely once you get the plus rank for the plus 5, that'll be perfect. As for the rings, it is straightforward. Additional maximum life, additional maximum mana, any stats you're missing, and also additional resistance. And over here, if we can get the ring with all elemental resistance on the top, that will be really, really good. Those rings are not cheap, probably at least 50 to 150 exalt each. In terms of the amulet, he's going with a plus 3 minion skill rank amulet with a lot of minion life, with resistance, and also with additional stats. The allocation of deflection, let me show you guys. We often have this question, how do you find deflection? Let me see if I can help you guys find the particular point over here. So, deflection is over here. It is not cheap. Keep in mind, guys, this one will cost you a few divine to anoint onto the amulet. Only if you have a really good amulet, you can consider this. It massively increases your block chance. Now, other hand, if you want to be a little cheaper like me and have this is much cheaper. Yes, this is what I'm currently using. This is a much cheaper anointment, and this only costs about 2 to 3 exalt, while the other one my friend is using is going to cost you a few divine. Keep that in mind, which is much stronger. So I'm using the cheaper one. As you can see over here, this will only cost 1 to 2 exalt. This gives less block chances. Now, as we keep going with items, you can see that the items are pretty good. Yes, he does have some really nice items, I have to say. And here you can see another ring with higher life, maximum mana, more resistance, and more mana regeneration together with increased rarity. It's always good to get better items. And as we keep going, you can see the shield. Going for maximal life, any stats you're missing, additional resistance, and together with socketing for more resistance. He is balancing between all resist and also chaos resist to max everything to at least 75. Now the gloves are pretty straightforward. We're using these gloves, and yes, this is the centerpiece of the build. This allows your minion kills to count as your own kill, which means that if you're going for the jib socketing over here, this means any mana gained by killing enemies will come back over here. This is how you gain over 300 or 400 mana because of this. You want at least 1% or 2% mana on kill, and this is the most important part of those jewels. So notice here, I'm trying to get mana on kill. I don't really care about other stats. Together with this, I can get over 200, close to 300 mana per kill because of those gloves. And as you can see over here, in terms of the build, we have maximum life, maximum mana, any resistance is really good over here. Nothing too fancy. You can get +1 charm as well, which will be really good, but that's so expensive. As for the boots, you want at least 25 or 30% movement speed, additional maximum life, maximum mana, and additional resistance. Everything pretty straightforward for the all max resistance. You can go with maximum mana, maximum life, or any resistance you're missing for the socketing. And finally, because my friend happened to have maxed out his resistance, it is actually possible to get a little greedy. So you can run this additional rarity charm, which will increase the rarity of your item drop. This is only because once you capped your resistance, you can get a little greedy as you farm for the endgame. And yes guys, if you want all of those stats, you can see at the end of replay, I'll have everything related that is shown in this video ready for you guys to have a look. Now coming over to a short demonstration and also tips in terms of skill rotations. So firstly, what you can see is my friend is actually socketing different gems before the start of the fight. And of course, this is during the testing. So this is what I said. If you want to main and max against pinnacle bosses or harder content that you're having trouble with, you can change the socketing coming from the first part that I taught you guys. So against the boss, he can socketing one of the minion plus rank. And this will allow him to deal even higher damage against the boss. In terms of the wider map areas, he's using fog support. So scatter shot put together with fog support, and fog support is replacing the martial tempo with a high attack speed. So you're replacing the 25% attack speed with additional splitting arrows. And finally, for close corridors, he's replacing fog support with the pierce support. The piercing support allows him to shoot through the corridors, and this will kill enemies behind them because they are stacked up. Other than that, the build is actually pretty straightforward. One thing I do want to mention to you guys is that even though my friend is using a second weapon set swap, he's not swapping all the time. Because there's a delay when you swap weapons, and you don't want to summon and resummon your skeleton minions if you can help it. So most of the time in the map, he doesn't need to curse enemies because he will die in one shot. Yes, sometimes he can swap the weapons, and over here this is a good example. He swapped the weapons because he wants more mobility. He can blink around very quickly using the second weapon set, and this will allow him to travel much faster in the map. But he's not doing this when there's monsters around, of course, because his main skills and items are on the first weapon set. And you can see, he can travel pretty fast. And here is when you want to use your weapon swaps. So here notice that he's about to summon a bunch of elites. He can cast his ritual and then cast his curse. And once all that is done, the monster comes, he already casts his firewall, which automatically swap into the first weapon set that one-shots all the elites over here. So this is what I want you to do. Against strong enemies, you can set up against them, and then you cast your firewall, and then you one-shot them. You need to understand this rotation instead of keep swapping between curse and also firewalls, which makes the game a little slower between swapping between the two weapon sets. And I think this was a big discussion coming from the previous video. And yes guys, to understand how to automatically swap, how to assign the skills, firewalls, and also your curses, how to blink for free, come back to this video. This will explain everything. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. The fire snipers are still working, and I am going to plan and also update the fire snipers for you guys. And we will be planning to update the physical snipers, so you have two kinds of snipers. In terms of the skeleton arsonists, they can still work, so you don't have to lose hope if you still have the skeleton arsonists. We do have the variations, and I do recommend you follow the last one, which will be the most updated skeleton arsonist. And together, if you're following the skeleton arsonist, you can also follow the weapon swap set skills, which will also greatly enhance your build and also provide you with a wider radius and also a free blink. So what I'll do now is I'll show you guys all the variety of testing replays and also when and what skill use in different situations to give you guys the best experience in following and also learning the latest build. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Oh boy, big thank you for Dramkast for having the patience and all the time to test with me right after the patch. We spent hours theory crafting testing, and we went from fire snipers to physical. We tried a lot of skills. And should you guys have additional recommendations or suggestions for this particular build, let us know in the comments below or send me a direct message on Discord, and we can work towards in making a stronger summoner and wiping the whole screen with the snipers in this particular meta. Now, before we finish, if you guys haven't subscribed, this is a really good time to do so because I'll be looking into the latest Path of Exile 2 news on different communities and also on our official forum, official webpage. I'll also be looking into the best build for each of the class as the meta develops with the Chinese and also the English community. So stay tuned for the latest update and also guides for Path of Exile 2. And of course, this is gonna be a big month for us. And I'll try to bring you guys all of the latest content and also guides for Path of Exile 2 to come.